Good afternoon, or good morning. Good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you are. Happy Thursday. Gosh, we're already almost through another week. But the weeks are looking good. Business is looking up. Opportunity is improving. Hopefully, we all have a good mindset, and hopefully, we're all out there working hard to harvest the opportunities in front of us and serving our clients. Now, it's Thursday, and if you follow me on my lives, you know Thursday is my favorite day. Because on Thursdays, I just kind of riff, pontificate on what I think the future might look like, what changes are coming our way, how we might need to pivot or change direction to go get to the puck to win in the future. And so I'm really looking forward to my topic today. Today, I am going to widely borrow and lean on thoughts and comments from Greg Shear, who's the managing director of NFM. He recently did a LinkedIn post, which I put a link to in my notes here. He did a LinkedIn post talking about the rise of the LO free agent or LO free agency. And in his post, he talked about the advent of loan officers getting large signing bonuses to go join competitors. And this started somewhere around 2019, but really exploded 2020, 2021, and then started to tail off as we went into 2022. But companies would blindly send a letter to an LO saying, hey, based on your production, we're willing to give you a blank signing bonus to join our company. And typically these bonuses, they range from 50 to 100 basis points. And the height of the craziness, maybe 150 basis points. And so if you were a loan officer that had done somewhat significant business, you were going to get a big check. I mean, that might have been as much as you were earning on your production, right? 100 basis points on your production from a year for a full year meant a big check. And so loan officers who are already somewhat suspicious and jaded, because in the pandemic years, lenders were making cartoon-like margins and cartoonish like profits, which they had to spread the margins out in order to try to contain the volume so that the tires just didn't melt down on the freeway. And so it made sense that that was the only defense they could do. But in doing that, they had a whole windfall profit. And loan officers who rightfully believe that they are really the key asset in the company. I mean, self-source loan officer brings in the business. Loan officers want more of that pie. They wanted to be compensated more. And so they saw an avenue for that when companies are starting to give them 100 basis points check on their last 12 months volume to jump ship. And and so it made total sense. And then if you look at it, this really started to pick up speed right in the face of the winds changing to a strong headwind. And so you saw some loan officers who became really, really proficient in dealing with capacity issues and volumes in 2021, 2022, had record volume years, 100 million, 200 million, 300 million, and then they were looking out their windshield and it looks like their volume's going to fall in half. And some of them hadn't financially planned and hadn't saved their acorns and didn't know how they're going to make it through this downturn. And so that check was like oxygen. And so they took the check. Interestingly, most times knowing it was going to harm their business, knowing that they were going to an inferior company or a company where they didn't have the same influence or they didn't have the same processes. They didn't have the same support, but they're willing to give that up for the financial security that check would give them. And all that made sense in 2020, 2021, 2022. It all made sense. The loan officer was willing to sacrifice their future earnings for immediate earnings, right? But what's happening now is that when you go and you take a check, you sign a contract saying, hey, I'm going to stay here for 2 years or 3 years. And that contract time is expiring. And those loan officers have now been conditioned to, well, I'm just going to go sell my production to the next person and take a check. And so that we created this free agency. And Greg talks about this in his LinkedIn post, which was terrific. And then again, he talked about it from stage at the Housing Wire IMB Summit just the other day. And he's true. And he says, look, the genie's out of the bottle. We're not going to be able to take this away. Loan officers are conditioned for it. And I would say, I would opine, which I will in a few minutes, to the detriment of all parties. We've conditioned loan officers now to want to check whether they get it for retention or they get it to go sign on with somebody else. and that now it's a really big problem in our industry, something we're going to have to learn how to overcome, something we're going to learn how to manage with. So when a loan officer signs, and there was a couple of companies that were super aggressive, often the most aggressive companies with signing bonuses are also ones that offer P&L models. And that's a really important distinction, because if you look at it at the same time, right, we just had 8 of the last 9 quarters, lenders lost money on every loan they did. In the worst quarter, they lost 100 basis points per loan, right? There isn't that cartoonish revenue anymore. So now there is no excess. There is no extra margin. There is no money to pay a bonus. But if loan officers still expect that for retention or to go to a new company, the only way the company can pay for that is by charging the customer, right? If you're losing money on every loan and you have to give somebody 100 basis points retention bonus or a sign-on bonus, that money doesn't come from thin air. You're going to have to increase your margins to cover that expense over time. Now, the way companies do that, the most aggressive companies, they put you in a 2-year or 3-year clawback where that says that if you leave, you have to pay that money back to us. And then they back it up with aggressive legal maneuvering so that they don't let you off the hook. They sue you, they torture you, they go after your future company. And so you get stuck. You're stuck. You're a prisoner of that company. Once you're a prisoner of that company, they control your margins, right? They can put that 100 basis points straight into your pricing, and there's not a thing you can do about it, right? You're going to be out of the market in pricing, and you're going to see your volume drop, and you're going to see your reputation and the trust in the marketplace drop. And maybe it was worth it to get that check up front that you would be willing to let your business deteriorate over time. Now, if you went to the model where you have a P&L model, what happens is that you can PE through that higher margin that your company is giving you, right? And all that is doing is you're starting to subsidize your own signing bonus, because when you PE through it on your P&L, you're removing the profit from your P&L. You're the only ones that suffer, because if you weren't removing that profit, you would be paid on, or you would receive that profit. So do you see how you just paid for it in a different way? If you PE through it on your P&L, you're essentially paying for it. And what you're doing is you're paying for it, and long term, it wasn't a financial gain. So you saw your business drop, you saw the pain of changing companies, you saw the reputational risk you took, all to not make more money in the long run. But you did bring the money up front. And so in my mind, and when I talk to loan officers, you really have to look at your whole card. Are you a mercenary or a patriot? A patriot would go, look, I'm going to stick with my company. I'm going to maximize my income over time. Whatever warts my company has, whatever bruises, whatever things I don't like, I'm going to work with my company to make better. I'm going to be a patriot. I'm going to make my company better, myself better, and we're all going to make more money. Or are you a mercenary? And I'm not putting a label like mercenary is bad. I mean, if you needed the money and that was the best choice for you and your family, make that choice. By all means, make that choice. But the problem is mercenaries get shot first. Nobody cares about mercenaries. Mercenaries are at the mercy of everyone. And long term, it's just not a great place to be in your business. I would argue always try to be a patriot. Now, that being said, companies, you're not off the hook. We have to figure out how to share fairly the revenue with all employees, whether it's the point of the spear with loan officers that are certainly our most valuable employees, or whether it's a receptionist or whoever it is. We have to have a model of figuring out who gets paid what kind of revenue do we want to share with each, what piece of the pie does everybody get? And if the pie gets crazy big, we got to learn how to share crazy big slices. And if the pie disappears and there's only crumbs, we have to figure out how to make it meaningful that our employees stick with us. And so Greg talks about this. He talked about it extensively from stage. Companies, we need to either create golden handcuffs or create other avenues to make our LOs sticky to us, to make them loyal to us, because it's right of them to think selfishly. It's right of them to put their interests first. We need to make sure align that their best interests are in alignment with the company's best interests. And we do that through creating golden handcuffs, like revenue share, delayed revenue share. Many companies do that. I know the company that I come from, HFD, is great with doing delayed revenue share plans. Really good. Bill Rogers, you did great with that. So whether it's that or it's other type of bonus incentives, right, that you have to figure out how to share more revenue. Just legally, compliantly, but how do you make them want to stay? And then, similarly, if that's not your jam, like, hey, I'm not going to take the smaller cut of the pie and just give it to the other people. If that's not what you're willing to do, then what you have to do is you have to become a more meaningful employer to those people. And like a meaningful employer, I'll give you an example. If you are generating half that LO's business, they're probably pretty sticky to you, right? If you're generating a ton of income, company generated business, and you're feeding your people, that's another form of stickiness, right? So whether it's revenue share or it's generating opportunities for closed business, we have to do one of those things to stay relevant in the future. Companies that don't figure this out won't succeed in the future. It just won't happen. And so it's an urgent issue that we have to solve. But you know what? That's what we're in the business of. We're in the business of figuring out how to solve these things. We're in the business of how to get loyalty. We're in the business of having to serve, our core constituents, which are our employees, and in the end, best serving our consumers. And that's the thing that happens here right now. In the way the environment is, if we're doing retention bonuses and if we're doing sign-on bonuses, in the end, it's the customer who's paying for that. And do the customer really get any benefit from that? Right? If I go buy a loan officer for 100 basis points and then I jack that loan officer's rates up by 100 basis points, do the consumer get any more value for that 100 basis points? I don't think so. And that's the thing we have to protect against. Does every one of our decisions serve the people whom we're supposed to serve, right? Is this decision to pay somebody 100 basis points to stay or to pay somebody 100 basis points to join our company, is that in the best interest of the people whom we're trying to serve, which is the borrowers? And probably not. I don't know if there's a way you can say that is in their best interest. And so instead, as leaders in companies, we have to go, okay, well, how do we fairly share the revenue? How do we create stickiness? How do we get loyalty? How do we earn that? Because you have to earn it every day, not expect it. And I don't expect loan officers or any employee to give a company loyalty just because they work there. They should give the company loyalty because they earn it every day. And so, Greg, you did a great job. I tagged you on this post. I know you occasionally check out my videos. You did a really good job, as you continue to do a very good job, just bringing issues to light. I really appreciate the way you take stands. I mean, it takes courage to try not to offend people and to try to bring issues on board. You've been a great advocate for the industry. And the little time I spent with you, you seem like a good dude. So I appreciate your efforts in the industry. For those people, whether you're a loan officer or you're somebody in the C-suite, you come across this, what's your strategy? If you're a loan officer, or you're a patriot, or you're a mercenary? And what's the true cost of taking that check up front? Is it really worth it, or can you work it out where you're at? And for companies, are you being fair to your employees? Are you being strategic on how you're going to, how you're going to earn their loyalty, and how you're going to share your revenues, or how you're going to generate opportunities, and so that it's a win-win? And are both originators and companies, are their goals and values aligned? And when all that happens, then this just becomes noise. But I totally understand it. Outsized profits led to loan officers wanting more, and then the drop in the market required immediate assistance, and that's how we got here. But the scary thing is we're seeing it perpetuate. We're seeing it now in the second or third evolution. I mean, look how many people now are moving every 2 years, and recruiters now, they in a lot of recruiting programs and recruiting CRMs, what the dates that are the alerts are in your CRM is when they join the company. There's a 1 year, 2 year, and 3 year alert, and it's all around when does their clawback expire. And as you get 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 months up to leading to the clawback expiring, the recruiters are crushing these loan officers, right? About, hey, look, you're about off the hook. Are you ready to move again? And we're perpetuating this loan officer free agency, and it's just, I don't know. I guess maybe I'm an old guy now. I lament for simpler times, but I understand it, everybody. That's my new normal for today. Once again, Greg, thank you. I appreciate your leadership on this. Let's just tackle together. And my belief is we have good people in the business. We'll figure it out. But let's just be super conscientious about this topic. All right. Hope you have a great Thursday. I will be back tomorrow. I'll probably bring another topic from the Housing Wire IMB. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks so much for checking me out. Have a great day.